for many of those of you who say, well, let's not ever question that our government be capable of doing something like assassinating somebody for political purposes. Let's go back 41 years to the church committee hearings, and this is what they had to say then.
So I had to find, one time they wanted me to find out if there was such a thing as a poison that was undetectable, especially one that seemed to mimic a heart attack, that would kill someone, but it would appear that they had a heart attack. I did find such a thing.
Does this pistol fire the dart?
Yes, it does, Mr. Chairman, and a special one was developed which potentially would be able to enter the target without perception.
The poison was frozen into some sort of dart, and then it was shot at very high speed into the person. So when it reached the person, it would melt inside them, and the only thing would be like one little tiny red dot on their body, which was hard to detect. There wouldn't be a needle left or anything like that in the person.
But also the toxin itself would not appear in the autopsy?
Yes, so that there was no way of perceiving that the target was him.
Have you brought with you some of those devices which would have enabled the CIA to use this poison for,
We have indeed.
for killing people? Does the target know that he's been hit and about to die?
A special one was developed which potentially would be able to enter the target without perception.
As a murder instrument, that's about as efficient as you can get, isn't it?
It is a weapon, a very serious weapon.
So that's William Colby, the then director of the CIA, talking to the church committee hearings. There also were House committee hearings by Pike. He said they had a heart attack gun 41 years ago. They could use it to take out political enemies. But of course, the CIA was very embarrassed about that. They're not even embarrassed about their disposition matrix, about the policies of assassination. So it's a legitimate question to ask, what happened to Supreme Court Justice Scalia? I want to go back and put some of this in context. We want to put the death of Scalia in context with what's going on with political issues that are coming before the Supreme Court. There was a major issue that happened last week, and I was going to talk about it when I was on the radio earlier in the week, but we never got around to it. There's just so much news was breaking. There was a massive issue that came about with climate change, something that the Supreme Court was involved in, putting a stay on the new rules from the EPA, saying we're not going to implement those, we're going to take a little bit longer to take a look at this, and of course that's now going to go to a very liberal DC Circuit Court. So we're going to break down what that's about. We're also going to take a look at what the GOP is saying. Instantly, Mitch McConnell said, well, we're not going to appoint somebody in this session. We've got a presidential election that we're in the middle of. We're going to wait and see what the people say. We're going to let the next president appoint the replacement for Justice Scalia. The Democrats
There's an old poster out west, as I recall, that said, wanted, dead or alive.
In fact, there's recent proof that George Bush might have preferred al-Qaeda leaders dead to alive when making that statement in 2001. Last month, the new CIA director, Leon Panetta, revealed to Congress an 8-year-old agency plan to kill the men behind the 9/11 terrorist attacks. A congressional committee announced on Friday it will investigate the program. Some of its members say the CIA is required by law to keep at least a select few in Congress informed of such activities, however secret.
But since wars cannot be won on the defensive, we move decisively against the terrorists in their hideouts and sanctuaries.
Former top Bush administration officials such as Vice President Dick Cheney could be summoned before the committee. He reportedly ordered the CIA to keep the program secret, with some politicians warning
Before we get started with today's video, let me recommend something else. It's called Case File. Case File is a true crime podcast exploring the shocking to the terrifying. And if you like the darker stuff we do here at Today I Found Out, you'll love that show. More on that in a bit. Government spies often have a myriad of amazing devices at their disposal for getting rid of bad guys in clandestine ways. It turns out, occasionally, so do real spies. Exhibit A, the CIA's undetectable poison dart gun that near silently shot frozen darts comprised of an unspecified and undetectable poison. The individual hit would reportedly at most feel something like a mosquito bite as the dart penetrated their skin. It would then quickly melt and the poison would do its work, leaving the victim dead of an apparent heart attack with no detectable evidence of the poison remaining. The weapon was revealed as part of a broader Senate investigation into intelligence and covert action abuses by the agency. The disclosure of the full gamut of activities and devices caused Senator Frank Church to conclude that the CIA had become a rogue elephant rampaging out of control. Spurred by the publication of Seymour Hersh's game-changing article in the New York Times on December the 22nd, 1974, which relayed assassination attempts and covert activities to subvert both foreign governments as well as American anti-war and other dissidents, the Senate formed the Select Committee to study governmental operations with respect to intelligence activities in 1975. Chaired by Senator Church during its 2 years of hearings, the Church Committee, as it came to be known, published 14 reports on a variety of abuses by the CIA, Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, the National Security Agency, NSA, as well as others. These included routinely opening and resealing U.S. citizens' mail since 1952, misusing tax information to target domestic dissidents, and conducting domestic electronic surveillance of peace and black power activists. In addition, for the CIA, this also included developing weapons such as, to quote, a pistol that can fire a poison dart 328 feet, kill a man before he knows he has been hit, and leave no clue as to what killed him. Part of a program named MK Naomi, established for conducting and managing bacteriological warfare, the poison dart gun was just one of many experiments by the agency, which also included pesticides to ravage crops, and on one occasion using the NYC subway to test out a trial model of a biological warfare attack. On September the 16th, 1975, then CIA Director William Colby testified regarding the development of toxic agents at a laboratory at Fort Detrick. Notably, Director Colby testified that only limited records remained of these activities, even though the program spanned from 1952 to 1970. Among the director's many extraordinary statements were these from his prepared remarks. The specific subject today concerns CIA's involvement in the development of bacteriological warfare materials, retention of an amount of shellfish toxin, and CIA's use and investigation of various chemicals and drugs. The need for such capabilities was tied to the development of 2 different types of suicide pills to be used in the event of capture during World War II, and a successful operation using biological warfare materials to incapacitate a Nazi leader temporarily. A memo of 1967 identified the range of project activity: maintenance of stockpile of temporarily incapacitating and lethal agents, assessment and maintenance of biological and chemical dissemination systems, and adaptation and testing of a dart device for clandestine and imperceptible inoculation with biological warfare or chemical warfare agents. The only application of this shellfish toxin was in the U-2 flight over the USSR in May 1960, Gary Powers' flight. Various dissemination devices, such as a fountain pen dart launcher and an engine head bolt designed to release a substance when heated, were developed. Success was never achieved for the temporarily incapacitating dart system, since a larger amount of an incapacitating agent is required to safely inactivate a human than of a lethal agent to kill him. Upon further questioning by the senators, Colby described how the poison dart gun worked. The chairman: does this pistol fire the dart? Asked Colby. Yes, the round thing at the top is obvious, and besides, the rest of this is practically a normal 45. However, it works by electricity. There is a battery in the handle. The chairman: so that it fires silently? Mr. Colby: almost silently.